Later today, the Senate Judiciary Committee will take part in a hearing to examine politically violent attacks, focusing on a threat to our constitutional order. Americans have been on high alert over the last year as politically motivated attacks have plagued our country. From the Butler, Pennsylvania attempted assassination of President Trump, the United Health CEO's assassination on 6th Avenue, Governor Shapiro's house firebombed, and Charlie Kirk assassinated at Utah Valley University. The list goes on. And Democrats don't seem to get that picture. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, he seems to believe he's never compared President Trump to Hitler. He was recently on Nicole Wallace's podcast to defend this stance. She seemed to believe him.
I haven't suggested that Donald Trump is Hitler. I wouldn't say.
I don't think any Democrat has. I actually, and I think it's a smear that they project back on to critics. But J.D. Vance called Donald Trump cultural heroin. He called him America's Hitler. I mean, the attacks on Donald Trump as a fascist came from 3 generals who worked for him.
And contrary to what Nicole Wallace suggests, she invites guests onto her show who push that exact same narrative.
What occurred in Madison Square Garden in 2024 was a worse version of the fascist rally that occurred there on the edge of World War II when England was fighting for survival against the Nazis.
Authoritarianism in America is here, right?
So it's been here for a while in the sense that authoritarian behaviors that we are used to thinking of belonging to different kinds of countries or different eras are already with us.
The genius of what he did, seen from a diabolical authoritarian perspective.
It's agonizing to listen to. But Caroline, I think the point here is that this is a use case for that rhetoric. And we know that it's president, but what we're now seeing is an utter delusion, a lack of accountability at all for them playing a part.
To me, the denial is the scariest part. As someone who's covered politics and the media's coverage of the accusations against Trump as being a fascist or a Nazi, all of those other boogeyman terms, I'm utterly baffled that this news personality and that politician, the governor of Illinois, has never heard the Hitler-Trump comparison ever before by a Democrat. I mean, where were they the last 8 years? Are we living in an alternate universe? You could probably fill a book with the number of invocations of Nazi, Hitler, authoritarian, fascist in comparison to President Trump and his agenda, which this time they can't claim was a fluke. In 2016, they could use those epithets because it seemed like it was so extraordinary that Trump was able to win. But his mandate is overwhelming at this point, and now they can't do that.
Kayleigh, as Caroline mentioned, sort of filling a book, I'm reminded of the sort of media's complicit participation in the total orchestration of nothing to see here about Biden's mental health. And then, a book comes out where all of a sudden you realize that, everyone talked about it behind closed doors and saw it. And I bring that up as an analogy that here, this is another emperor's new clothes. And to me, the largest evidence is every Saturday, every Tuesday, every day that ends in Y, as you see people without jobs floating around the streets carrying signs that say no fascism and fascist President Trump and Hitler and the like. So clearly there is an echo chamber. There's an amplification all online in those algorithms and all in the streets of America. And where do they get it from? The media and these elected officials who deny even saying it.
100%. When you look at the people who have said this, these are not just random commentators that have compared Trump to Hitler. They're not just the people with signs. Yes, we've seen that too. These are mainstream Democrats, including J.B. Pritzker himself. Libs of TikTok put together a 2-minute reel of all of the people making these Hitler comparisons. J.B. Pritzker himself was pressed by Jake Tapper, okay? Jake Tapper actually pressed a Democrat. How can you possibly compare what happened in Germany in World War II to what happened here? J.B. says we're talking about the death of the constitutional republic. That's what happened in Germany in 1933-34. Hillary Clinton compared the Madison Square Garden rally to a rally in 1939 at that same place. Tim Kaine made a similar comparison. You have one from Beto O'Rourke with this same rhetoric. Biden, he used the same exact language as Nazi Germany, AOC, Pelosi, the list goes on. So there are 3 options here. Either all these Democrats had amnesia, J.B. Pritzker had amnesia along with Nicole Wallace. Either they're just lying, totally possible, or they're so desensitized to this existential rhetoric that it is literally part of their vernacular to call Republicans, to call Donald Trump, to call MAGA supporters Hitler. And I'm very scared that it's the third, that this is just their vernacular. They level these comparisons of killing, the deadliest moment ever for Jews and compare that to someone democratically elected winning the popular vote in all 12 swing states. It is disgusting.
Yeah. Griff, we have some of that evidence. Actually, let me check with the team if we can pop it up and play a little bit of that. We'll see if we got it.
That's what happened in Nazi Germany. The Nazis did it in 53 days. The dangers that we saw in Nazi Germany. People have criticized me for talking about the Nazi regime. It's the one I know most about because I helped to build a Holocaust museum. This is what happened. People's rights started getting taken away. People got accused of being immigrants. This is before the Holocaust really took place.
Right.
Yeah. Look, here's the deal. And left off that great list you ran down, Kaylee, is Tim Walz, who said that Donald Trump's modern-day Gestapo is scooping people off the streets. That's exactly what he said. Had the election gone differently, he would be the vice president. And so it underscores the irresponsibility. Every official at ICE, Border Patrol, DHS Secretary Noem that I have interviewed, they are begging these politicians to stop using the Nazi reference because of the inherent dangers. We just had an ICE facility shot up and some migrants tragically were killed in Dallas. And so I think, unfortunately, we're going down a path where you're seeing the hundreds of thousands of protesters carrying Nazi, Hitler, fascist signs in the streets. If the politicians on the Democrat side keep saying it, then their followers are going to believe it, and we're headed down a dark, dangerous road.
And I said Tim Kaine. I intended to say Tim Walz. Just want to point that out. Yes.
Look, I wondered when it started, so I went back all the way to January 2019 when Representative Hank Johnson of Georgia, I sent this to my team this morning. I don't know if you guys remember it, but he said, he stated that Hitler rode a wave of nationalism and anti-Semitism to power and then drew a parallel to Trump's rhetoric. November 2023, the words actually were spoken by, during that campaign, saying that Trump parroted the autocratic language of Adolf Hitler. Then a month later in 2023, the Biden campaign issued a statement that accused Trump of having, quote unquote, channeled his role models as he parroted Adolf Hitler. Like, should we even have to ask? But here's a bit of irony, because we just learned from Kamala Harris that the reason she thinks that she couldn't choose a Jewish vice president, since you mentioned Tim Walz, was because he was Jewish. So who's anti-Semitic here? Like, this is gross stuff that they are trafficking in, and it's dangerous. Yes, it's not just words, because we have history behind an actual Adolf Hitler. It's a lack of imagination, a lack of ideas. Not anything that's never been levied against Democrats this political cycle, but just thought I'd give you some more examples.
That's right. Hey, everyone, I'm Emily Compagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.